I'm Nicole from Royal Borough of Greenwich. I'm a content designer, obviously. And we recently migrated last year to LGD. I'll tell you more about it, but we moved from Jadu and have been sort of iteratively doing it over the past 2 years. So specifically what I'm talking about today is our use of Workspaces to help us manage the migration. But before I go too deep into it, I just want to put out a disclaimer. We are still new at using Workspaces ourselves, so I'm not an expert. None of us are in our team. We're all learning as we go. Like even up to like this week, we're still discovering new things about Workspaces. So I'd be really interested to hear if anyone else has used it, how they found it. Yeah, so feel free to also jump in and talk in the middle of this presentation. I will give you a demo as well. But what is a workspace? So it is when you're creating a copy of your live site, and you can edit or completely change that duplicate to your heart's content and then merge it back to the live site with all the changes that you've made. So what we're doing at the moment is we've just started using multiple workspaces when previously we just had one workspace and we called that stage. And so we're creating a workspace for each project that we've got at the moment. And the good thing about workspaces is you can name them whatever you like. So these can be named after the projects that you're working on. For example, council tax, say if you're working on revamping that entire section, or rubbish and recycling, and so on and so forth. As you can imagine, this means that not only can you see and edit an entire section that you're working on instead of just individual pages, it also means that user researchers, or if you're doing research yourself, can go out and then test these pages in an environment that's basically just like the live site without it being live. So it's as close as you can get to testing the real thing. So next slide. If it goes to the next page. Oh, that's right. I made some animations. Oh, yes. And also, I was put in charge of this presentation, so there might be a few more memes than there should be. But to kick us off, I wanted to talk about the advantages of using Workspaces. So I already spoke about a few of them. It's going to help you firstly manage large migrations, like what we were doing when we were moving platforms. So you can have everything ready to go. You can choose to do it in multiple different ways, basically. Either you have everything ready to go in one go, or you can slowly release it over time. And that's kind of what we've ended up doing. It's also helpful if you have large scale changes across your entire website. For example, we're currently thinking of using it to help us with the financial changes coming up at the end of March. Yeah, start of April, 1st of April, the financial changes, where we need to update all the fees across the whole website. So that's numerous pages, forms, that kind of thing. And doing it in the workspace means we can prepare everything, and all we have to do is just hit the publish button on the 1st of April or 31st of March, and everything will go over in one go. The next thing is when it comes to user testing, as I mentioned, you can test everything, and that's as close as you can get to the live site. It also makes it easier for your team members to check if the links are working well, everything's displaying correctly, your images, videos, that sort of thing. And it also means that you basically have a separate space where content designers can use as your playground. So you can just publish as many pages as you like, delete as many pages as you like. And it's honestly been, I guess, quite freeing as a content designer to just play around, see what a page looks like, and then only show people like a polished version at the end once it's ready to go. And the other good thing about it is if you've got your stakeholders in the room as well, you can also show them what their new section might look like, instead of just trying to explain it to them and have them visualize like a grid of pages, for example, or something. So how we did it. We managed and are still managing our migration in a staggered way. So in May last year, we had our first release on LGD. So that was just our homepage, news and events section, and the header and footer. A few months later, we then followed up with our second release. So I think that was in September or October. So we released batches of sections. So each of these sections that you can see that say they're live at the moment, they were first drafted in a stage workspace. I'll go into a bit more detail after my demo as to why we did them in batches, but each section had a range of number of pages under them. Say, for example, the housing section had hundreds of pages, whereas jobs, training, and volunteering, that only had 12 pages. Because we were adding them from scratch, so because this was a migration from one platform to another, it did mean that we also had to upload all the related media items, so things like images, documents, videos, that sort of thing. I will come back to why that was a little bit problematic as well. But first, I want to show a demo of what it looks like. So if I'm sharing correctly, it should just bring up. Can you see the back end?
Yeah,
yes?
It's working
Okay,
seamlessly.
good. Good. Okay, so this is what our backend looks like. This is where the magic happens, where you switch from one environment to the other. So it's also pay attention to how it's green. So the green is how we know that this is the live environment that we're working in. And as you can see here, these are the workspaces we've got at the moment. We've got 3, 2 of which we just created yesterday. So previously, all we had was this stage workspace. But if I enter it, it'll ask if you want to activate it, and then just give it some time. It'll say it's active, and then now this changes to say that you're in the stage workspace. It looks, if you can remember the pages that were under it, it looks very exactly the same as what it looked like in the live environment. So one of the things I'm going to talk about later is how important it is to differentiate which workspace you're in. But the way that you manage it is you click on that again, so you get this gray bar, and then go to Manage Workspace. And that takes you to this page, which shows you all of the pages we currently have in this workspace. So yeah, you can see this list of pages here. And then if you go back to this Workspaces tab, you can see the list of all the workspaces we've got. We can easily go into view the pages that we've opened up in each workspace. You can switch from here as well. It's also very easy to add a workspace. So you can just create one, name it whatever you like. And then there's this interesting thing here that we're still kind of trying to figure out why it exists, if it's useful or not, how we would use it, the governance side of things, that is. So you can actually create like a child workspace and sort of attach a workspace to another. So I think that's possibly to help with creating like a publishing workflow. So you can have your own workspace and then like a stage workspace, which is for approval or something like that. And then that gets pushed out to live when you're ready. yeah, that is the demo, a very quick demo of how it looks. If you are opening a page that is not in the workspace, so let me go back to live. So I'm just looking up a page that I know I created in a workspace, which is this one. And if you try to open it up, you can see I'm currently in the live environment. It will tell you that it is currently being edited in the workspace. So it kind of locks it and doesn't allow you to edit it in the live environment. Yes, but that is my demo. So back to the slides. Now, on to the challenges. So with all good things comes a few bad. So once again, some of these might be because we are also still learning about workspaces. If you have used it yourself, you might have come up with solutions for this already. So I would love to hear it if you have. But the first and biggest problem we had was that everything needs to be published in one go. So I'll come back to this problem again in a future point, but because we were dealing with migrating from one platform to the other to start off with, this wasn't that big a problem because basically we were starting from scratch and creating sections. At some point, we did attempt to publish the stage site, and it failed because there was a page sitting in draft, and it was kind of my fault because I didn't save it as published. But that's one thing to remember is when you're publishing in Workspaces, every single thing in that workspace has to be in the published state. You can't have a page sitting in draft. So next point, because of how similar the workspace is to the live site, as you saw just now through the demo, it can sometimes be hard to know which stage you're working in. Sometimes we accidentally are opening things up in live when they should be in stage, or vice versa. And the only way for you to know which environment you're in is to check that you're in that right, like that little button to check the color where you're in. So yeah, that's just a tricky thing for us to keep in mind because sometimes we're working really quickly in pages, we scroll down immediately to the section we want to see, and then we miss that button. And when that happens, that leads us on to the third point, where once you open a page in a workspace, that page is now locked in that workspace. So say you have a page you've worked on, it's published in your live site. You then actually accidentally, while you're in a workspace, open that page up. You can now no longer edit that page in the live site because it's locked in that workspace, if that makes sense. So this then brings me back to my first point where everything needs to be published at the same time. If you had been working in that workspace and you have content that can't go out until a certain point, but you've accidentally locked a page in there from the live site, you're now stuck waiting until all of the content can be published before you can unlock that page again. Yeah, hopefully I've explained that well enough. But if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to go into more detail later. Yes, so the next point is,
Rachel's
yes?
actually got a question, so maybe because it's relevant. Go for it, Rachel.
Yeah, it's how do you keep the referential integrity automatically? So quite a lot of our pages link to other pages in the site, and when we're doing new pages, obviously that becomes problematic. So if you use the workspaces, does it, so if it's a section that's in the live site as opposed to the staging site, does it automatically let you select the page as you would normally, with the node or whatever, just to take you directly through without any. Okay, that's handy.
Yep.
Very handy.
Yeah. It's very easy to use.
I like a simple answer to a nutty question. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, carry on. Go for it. Have you got bit more to show?
Yes. So I just wanted to talk about the next point, which is uploading documents. And then I can move on to key learnings, and then we can have questions afterwards. So the other thing that we realized is that you can only upload media items in your default workspace, which is obviously going to be the live site. So if you are creating a section from scratch in your workspace, which includes uploading however many documents you've got in that section, you have to upload them in the live site and then switch to your workspace and then add it to that page in the workspace. And so that, I guess, leaves a bit more room for error, where you could slip up, accidentally upload a document, and then publish a page in the wrong environment, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was just another challenge that we had to kind of get around. So on to key learnings. Firstly, don't be like Gandalf. Always make sure that you know where you are by checking the little status at the top, which is very important because, once again, you don't want to lock your content in a workspace by accident. If you've got a lot of documents to work on or to add to a section, try to see if you can upload them all in batches so you're not flicking back and forth between the live site and your workspace. I heard that there is a new module that's out where you can bulk upload media items. So if we can get that for our CMS, that would be really helpful. And then finally is, if you have only one workspace, if you're stuck with having only one workspace for some reason, try to see if you can only publish things, like work on things that can be published at the same time, because you don't want to be sitting there waiting until another content designer, for example, is ready to publish their items. So yeah, that is my presentation of using Workspaces at Greenwich.